Alright guys, so welcome to the August 2013 Solo Queue Advanced Statistics Vlog, starring me, your host and subject, Gelati. So, couple things before we go into this month. It was kind of, just to throw it out there, generalize a little bit. I had a losing record this month, but I think I was actually playing quite well, and I was doing a good job to minimize, losses and stuff like that. And I had a couple bad games, but for the most part, I think I played pretty well this month. And I was winning the matches that mattered, which is really, really important. So I am playing at a step up now. So let's go right into the numbers before I waste any of your time talking. So um, before I jump into anything, I want to cover two things. So I want to first state the goals I made for myself from last month, and there were three of them. I'm going to make 3 goals every month. So the first goal here was to improve my lane effectiveness, and I put be proactive, meaning don't be reactive, be proactive, like be the one in charge of the lane. If you lose, but don't be the one reacting to what the other person does. Second one was to continue to reduce my negative contribution rating. If you're not sure what the contribution rating is and you're new here, I suggest you go back and check the previous videos, check the blog out where I explain this in detail for you guys. Also, welcome if you are new. Number 3 was to make a concerted effort to roam more. So those were the 3 goals I had going into this month. Those are the 3 I was aiming for, and I just want you to keep those goals in mind as I go through and compare the statistics here. The other thing I did for you guys is I tried to highlight them in color. Green is something improved from last month. Red is something that is lower than last month, or just not good in general. So right off the bat, I had slightly higher, just like overall placement. Like if you compare the low and the high, like it was a step up. So I'm still, playing in the Platinum 4 range, but nothing too crazy. I had a winning record last month, 14-9, but 19-21 this month. But I was 4-2 in promo matches, so I played well when it mattered. So my KDA went down 0.04, not too significant, but a lot of it had to do with just playing less support, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. I had a 6-game winning streak this month. 4-game losing streak, which is one more and one more for each compared to last month. I had a 30 LP gain from one game this month, and I beat a Diamond 1 guy. I think it was the Diamond 180 carry on the other team, but 22 is similar to last month, a loss there. The peak stuff is mostly for me to keep track of outliers. I had a 15 kill game. I believe that was the same as the 349 CS on Cassiopeia game. 10 deaths, reduced from 16, which was my high for the season. That's not good. 24 versus 27, not that much different. Let's get back down to the nitty gritty. This is what I'm here for. This is the real stuff I'm here for. That's all stuff you can find anywhere. Combat grades. This is like my bread and butter. This is what I've been trying to focus on, trying to help me improve. My lane effectiveness, if you remember, one of my goals from last month was to improve that. I did not. As a matter of fact, I dramatically decreased my lane effectiveness from negative 0.04 to negative 2, so 5 times worse if you multiply them. But it's significantly worse is the point. So I did not reach that goal. That's something important we're going to talk about in a little bit. Outside lane influence 4, I did not have as much jungle assistance as I did, and I had slightly more jungle presence from the other junglers. So it did make laning a little bit more difficult, and it probably had an effect on that lane effectiveness score. However, my roaming effectiveness average was significantly higher, negative 0.33 to positive 0.04. So that's a significant improvement. That was something that I really wanted to do, and I'm glad I did. So that is one of my other goals that I succeeded at, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Contribution grades, moving on down here. Slightly higher positive contribution, slightly lower negative contribution, for an overall much improved net contribution average, so that's good. I had 24 games where I was positive contribution, 16 games with negative contribution. And, ironically enough, the games where I was positive contribution, like positive in contribution score, I was 10-14, so I had a losing record. And in the games where I was negative, I had a 9-7 record. So it doesn't necessarily correlate to victory, at least not this month it didn't. But I thought that was worth mentioning. I mean, you can look at that however you want. Like you could analyze that as, oh, the games I'm carrying, I'm losing because my teammates suck, or the other game, or you could look at it and be, okay, maybe my team just got outplayed that game. That's all, you know. So you can look at, I mean, their numbers, they only ever tell you so much, but I tend to think that they actually tell you a lot more than they like look like. So you can look at that a couple different ways. Regardless, we'll move on down. Um, Average damage to champions. So overall, this is all inclusive. I did significantly more damage to champions this month. Now I played a lot of support last month, so this is kind of a skewed number. But 5% difference on average is pretty significant. If you take the support games out of it, however, I'm 3% lower, almost 3% lower. So I'm not doing nearly as much damage to champions, but a lot of that has to do with the champions I'm playing, Ari, Lissandra, and some others. So they're not necessarily high damage champions. So they're more bursty, like single target or cooldown oriented champions. Gold statistics. I had significantly better gold per minute than I did last month on average. Like if you take the support games out, 293 versus 338. That's like a significant improvement. That's like 40, like almost 40 gold per minute. And if you take my gold per minute against 314 up to 348, so I have allowed more gold against, but it's it's 314 to 337 either. That's without the support games, because with the support games in, it's averaging my gold against the enemy 80 carry, so it's a little bit skewed. Regardless, I'm allowing more gold, but a lot of this, you could look at it as I'm either allowing gold and I need to pressure more, or I'm just playing against higher caliber people, which is what I feel is happening. So typically, when you look at like diamond level, like high diamond and challenger level players, they have gold per minutes in like the high 300s and 400s. So slowly inching my way up there. That's a number I want to keep my eye on. Most played champion this month was, the flavor of the month. All the mid players are playing Ari, and I went 5-3. Very low average CS compared to a lot of the other mids I play. That's 3.16 to 1 is like that's a decent KDA for Ari. It's nothing special. She's very evasive, so you shouldn't really be dying too much. I did limit the enemy AD to a very low CS number though, so that's good. And that's what you want to do when you're playing an assassin champion like her. Goal per minutes are pretty much in line with what I was doing. One thing I did want to note though is that the average game length when I play Ari is very, very short, 28-17. So it's like a real hit or miss champion. At least if you look at it that way. A lot of that, outside influences. Maybe one of my teammates snowballed, maybe the other team won real fast. Who knows? But it's a very short game time, so 26% damage to champions, slightly negative contribution grade. So, nothing really that out of the ordinary for Ari, because she's just that kind of champion. A lot like Lux, she's kind of like evasive, gets the high KDA number, so I really should have better numbers than that. I played 17 champions this month, up from 7 last month. Now, a lot of that had to do with the fact that I played all 5 roles this month, so I had to play a couple games top, a couple games jungle, a couple games AD, etc. Instead of just my typical mid and support. But still, that's a lot of games, and I think like a lot of it had to do with me just like experimenting, trying to find answers to things. But I really need to hunker down and focus, and I want to try to get this number back to around 10. And I'll say 10 with the caveat of, if I have to jungle and top and AD again, maybe 10 to 12. But I want to reduce this number because that's way too many. And I had a lot of games where I played like 1 or 2 games with certain champions. That's not what you want. Negative duo queue record, time and time again. We've seen this, so I just need to stop duoing. Really, average match time about a minute longer, 50 seconds longer. You can look at this and analyze it. Maybe start trying to optimize for like the 20 to 25 minute range, which is what you really should be doing anyway. And that should be your peak. Help win games by that 31, 32 minute mark. Nothing too strange in match time distribution. Nothing too strange in pick order. Weakest matchup was Ari. The one win I have here was with Lissandra. So I think that's going to be like my answer, and you'll see next month that I've already played some games this weekend. I'm having a lot of success playing Lissandra against her because the two CCs to lock her down is really helping. First Blood's 4 and against. I have 4-4 and 1 against, as opposed to 1-0 last month. Record when I get First Blood, I'm 3-1. Record when I give up First Blood, 0-1. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Kind of a flip flop from last month, and a flip, I guess you'd call it, from the month before. Typically, I play very well in my first session and very well in the first game of my session and very bad in the last game of the session. You could attribute that to playing one too many, being tired, maybe tilting, like anything like that. That typically people play one too many, and that was a problem I was having, and I fixed it last month. I actually had a better record in the last game than I did in the first game last month. But this month I'm back to my old ways. I was 12-6 in the first game of my session. It's a good record. And 6-12 in the last game. So I'm playing like, seems like maybe I'm playing one game too many, but it's hard to tell. It could have just been like losses. I'd have to go back and look and see if that was actually the case for those games. Moving on to positional statistics, we've got I got exactly half my games this month. I went 12-8. A lot of outside lane influence for still, which means, or outside lane influence against, which means I'm pulling a lot of jungle pressure. That's a good thing. Means it's helping my team out. And here was one of the goals I laid out. Significantly improved roaming grade, like much better. That's exactly what I was looking for, and I'm glad I met that goal. And I want to try to push and continue to do that because, as you'll see later on, I have a much better record. A negative contribution grade though, but I think that's a lot to do with just like roaming and making plays around the map. A very good 80 carry KDA considering I don't ever do it, and positive contribution there. And flip from last month, I had a negative support record as opposed to the 12-4 I had last month, and a lower KDA. That's actually an abysmal support KDA. So very bad this month. Even though I only had 3 negative contribution games and a pretty good positive contribution average considering that many games. There were a lot of games where it was just my team got outplayed or there's like one bad team fight. So that's going to happen from time to time. And again, this is only a 12 game sample size, so it's not the biggest, but it is something to keep an eye on. Top 1-1, terrible KDA, but managed to win one of those games. And jungle, actually the two jungle wins were my promo series, so that was kind of funny. I played Udyr back to back. Good contribution there. So environmental statistics, nothing too strange. I haven't, like, during my typical nighttime block, I was playing not quite as good this month, and during the daytime I was playing a lot better. That could be anything. It could have just been this month, could have been the games, but we'll keep an eye on it as the season progresses. Only one real strange one for day of the week. I still suck on Sundays, apparently, but guess what I'm going to do after I make this video? I'm going to go play solo queue, so maybe I'm a dumbass. We'll see. 1-8 on Sunday and 0-4 last month, so that's not very good. Nothing too strange in music, so again, that's just kind of like my little end of the season kind of thing. I want to see if there's any correlations at all. So quickly, I have it down here, but I'm gonna go back to the full screen version so you guys can see my wonderful face. I laid out 3 goals for myself last month. One was to improve my lane effectiveness and be proactive. I failed that. I for sure failed that. There was a dramatic drop in lane influence or lane effectiveness, and I really need to revisit some of the matchups like Zed and Fizz and Ahri, like specifically like the assassin matchups that I was having trouble with. So number 2 was to reduce my negative contribution. I'm gonna give myself like a half and half on this because I did technically succeed in reducing my negative contribution score, but it really wasn't that substantial, so I'd like to continue to do that. And there were a few outlying, like, severe negative games that were really making that not possible. So more or less, I just want to not tilt. I don't want to have any terrible games. I just want to have, I want to keep it streamlined. I don't want to have any bad games. So that's the goal for that. So I give myself a half a succeed for that one. So a half a star, I guess. And goal number 3 was to make a concerted effort to run more, which I passed with flying colors, and I want to continue to do and continue to make an effort for. Some relevant statistics for this: I went 1-6 in games where I got outroamed, and I went 6-2 in games where I outroamed the other or my lane opponent. So that's just a statistical like backup for exactly what that is. Like if you're creating plays around the map, you're more successful. So I passed that with flying colors, so I give myself a star for that one. So overall, I got 1.5 out of my 3 goals. Ideally, you want to get 3 out of 3, but 1.5, yeah, it's okay. So my goals for next month, I'll lay them out here. Goals for next month are to improve my lane effectiveness, and I want to like just across the board, but specifically those mid matchups against assassins that I was having trouble with, that really dropped that lane score down. That's number 1. Goal number 2 is going to continue to reduce that negative contribution score, and I want to try to not have any tilt games next month, or a very low percentage of tilt games. Number 3 is I want to refocus my champion pool after that dramatic increase this month. I want to zone back in and help focus my improvement as I make my push to diamond, which is my goal for the end of the season. So, thank you guys for watching. I encourage you to follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to the Twitch channel, all that stuff. I will be streaming in about half an hour after this, so if you guys want to come on over and hang out and talk, feel free. I will talk to you guys then, and thank you guys for watching.